The story begins with a man named Roland, who suddenly finds himself reborn as a noble prince in a bleak, forgettable border city that looks like ambition came here to die. An elderly man arrives to check on him, but runs into a servant leaving the prince's room. She claims the prince is asleep, yet her expression says otherwise. It's the kind of rushed, guilty look that practically screams, "I just did something illegal." Suspicious, the old man enters the room and finds the prince unconscious, a wine goblet spilled on the floor. What he doesn't realize is that the prince is already dead. At that exact moment, Roland awakens inside the body. He comes to, completely disoriented, trying to make sense of his situation. Before he can process anything, the old man urges him to get up. A witch is scheduled for execution, and as the prince, Roland must give the order. Outside, chaos unfolds. A young woman is being pelted with stones by an angry mob chanting, "Witch." Meanwhile, the nobles watch from a balcony, calmly sipping wine like this is premium entertainment. Roland starts connecting the dots. He's been reborn as a prince. Keeping his composure, he surveys his surroundings and notices the poisoned goblet. Someone murdered the original owner of this body. When he steps outside, the sheer scale of the scene hits him. The crowd demands the execution. Among them, the same servant from earlier stares in shock, unable to comprehend how he's still alive. Roland studies the accused witch and realizes she's just a young woman. The entire situation feels absurd, but he has to maintain his role. So instead of giving the execution order, he postpones the trial. His personal knight immediately objects. Once someone is labeled a witch, execution must be immediate, or it risks attracting more of them. Roland counters calmly, asking why that would be a problem. If more witches appear, wouldn't it be easier to capture them all at once? The knight is caught off guard, and just like that, the execution is delayed. Later, Roland rides back to the mansion in a carriage, unknowingly seated beside the very person who poisoned him, still disguised as a loyal servant. Once in his room, reality settles in. He's trapped in the body of a useless prince, in a remote territory, in a world that seems both primitive and dangerous. He stares at his reflection and after a long pause concludes that at least the prince is exceptionally good-looking. Small victories. At dinner, the royal advisor confronts him directly, demanding an explanation for delaying the execution. Roland asks why killing a witch is such a priority. The advisor explains that more suspected witches have been seen in the Western Forest, along with a symbol belonging to the Witch Cooperative Association. Confused, Roland asks what that is. The advisor explains that witches once acted alone, but this organization seeks to unite them in search of the sacred mountain, a place believed to grant them peace. Because of this, they are constantly recruiting. Roland, unimpressed, points out the obvious. They're afraid the association will discover the witch is still alive and attempt a rescue. The advisor confirms this, visibly shaken, and insists the execution must happen immediately. Once a witch awakens her power, it becomes something terrifying. That word catches Roland's attention. The advisor recounts a recent incident where a mine collapsed. During the chaos, the accused witch used her power to burn a man so completely that he melted like wax. Instead of being horrified, Roland decides he wants to meet her. The advisor is outraged, and Roland questions why she isn't being burned at the stake. The answer is simple. She doesn't fear fire. Still skeptical, Roland heads to the dungeon. The knight warns him that he cannot guarantee his safety. Roland responds that evil cannot be defeated if it is never faced. The knight agrees in principle but argues that recklessness is not courage. Roland pushes back, asking whether justice should target only the weak while ignoring the strong. Silenced, the knight reluctantly follows him. When they reach the cell, Roland is stunned. The woman inside is strikingly beautiful, with clear blue eyes that show no trace of malice, only unwavering resolve. Despite her chains, the knight remains on high alert. Roland introduces himself and asks her name. "Anna," she replies weakly. He asks her to explain what happened. Reluctantly, she recounts the incident. During the mine collapse, her father was trapped. As she tried to save him, another miner attempted to steal the coins her father had spent his life earning. When her father resisted, the man prepared to kill him. Without hesitation, Anna killed the attacker. Roland then asks how she was captured. Before she can answer, The advisor reveals the truth. Her own father turned her in for a reward of 25 gold coins. Roland presses further, asking how she managed to kill someone stronger than her. Anna quietly answers that she used what they call the devil's power. Still unconvinced, Roland asks her to demonstrate it. Everyone panics. This could end with all of them dead. Even Anna warns him that his curiosity will get him killed. Roland responds coldly. If she were truly a demon, the person she would want dead most wouldn't be him. It would be her father. That hits her hard. Tears begin to fall. Roland steps closer and looks her in the eyes, questioning whether she is a victim deserving sympathy or a master of deception. Then, ignoring the knight's protests, he removes the collar, suppressing her power. Chaos erupts as people scramble to escape. Flames burst from Anna, filling the cell with intense heat. The knight shouts for Roland to run, but he refuses. Instead, he observes. The fire doesn't spread, it stays contained. Anna is controlling it. She walks toward him, flames consuming her restraints and clothing before extinguishing them completely. Standing calmly before him, she asks if his curiosity has been satisfied. She assumes that, having seen the truth, he will now execute her. Instead, Roland removes his cloak, gently wraps it around her, and tells her he has no intention of killing her. In fact, he wants to recruit her. And just like that, the useless prince starts playing a much more dangerous game. The next day, Roland sat alone, analyzing Anna's power. In his past life as an engineer, thermodynamics was absolute. Heat didn't appear out of nowhere, and entropy always increased. Anna broke all of that. She generated heat from nothing, ignoring the fundamental laws of nature. The conclusion was unavoidable. Witch power wasn't just dangerous, it rewrote reality itself. Barov entered, and Roland immediately asked about the execution. It had been carried out at noon, with a hooded substitute to hide the truth. Satisfied, Roland shifted focus and demanded detailed reports on the city's economy, production, and finances. Barov, used to a useless prince, was stunned but complied. Once alone, Roland studied the kingdom map. His siblings ruled powerful regions, while he'd been stuck in the worst possible territory. When he asked about his chances, Barov admitted they were low. The city was mismanaged, and the nobles acted without restraint. Roland dug deeper and concluded that the real power wasn't the royal family, but the church in the holy city. The kingdom was effectively under its control. His solution was simple: build power outside that system. To do that, he needed to destroy the church's narrative, starting by proving witches weren't demons. Barov finally understood why Anna had been spared. Roland even hinted at elevating him in the future, securing his loyalty. Later, Roland met Anna in the garden. Confused by her situation and convinced she deserved punishment, she couldn't understand his intentions. Roland explained her actions were self-defense, but she refused to accept it. So he demonstrated a point using a harmless flower, tricking her into believing it was poisonous. Her reaction proved it. Perception shaped belief. Her power wasn't evil, it was simply misunderstood. Still, she feared hurting others. Roland didn't force her to change. Instead, he gave her a choice. Death would fix nothing, but she could help build a world where witches lived freely. Anna admitted she just wanted a normal life. Roland offered his hand. She accepted. He then ordered her to train her powers. Soon after, Roland discovered the city's real condition. It was a mining town controlled by corruption, with no food production of its own. All resources were traded to Longsong Fortress in exchange for minimal supplies, leaving the city barely surviving. Roland immediately cut ties and planned to trade with Willow City instead, even offering lower prices to secure deals. Long-term, he intended to turn the river into a major trade route. Then came the real problem: winter. Demonic beasts descended from Dragonspine Mountain, forcing residents to take shelter in the fortress. Without that option, the city would be defenseless. Roland gathered soldiers and a hunter named Iron Axe, who explained the beasts were mutated animals, stronger and more dangerous, with some evolving into intelligent predators. The situation was clear. Running to the fortress wasn't sustainable. When asked if he planned to stay during the demonic months, Roland confirmed it without hesitation. The city had no walls, few soldiers, and no real defenses. Survival seemed impossible. Roland didn't care. He wasn't leaving, and he wasn't letting his people die. Instead, he made his decision. They would build walls strong enough to withstand anything. And this time, when the beast came, they wouldn't run.